Healing minds, inspiring voices, living truth, making choices. This is your space. Just be you, authentically peculiar with Marcia. Welcome to a space where healing is real, where your voice matters and your truth is enough. With Authentically Peculiar. Season 5, the year of expansion, healing deeper, living louder, stepping fully into who you are. Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. Welcome back to Authentically Peculiar with Marcia, Season 5. Phew. 5 years of bringing words of comfort, encouragement, support, discussing tough topics, including politics, learning how to heal from wounded situations that were outside of your control, and being able to feel fulfilled while living authentically peculiar. I'm so excited to have the audience that I have and that it continues to grow as I navigate this podcast world. I want to start off by acknowledging that you are the greatest people on the earth. And if you haven't told yourself that, you need to begin to do that in a very personal manner. You need to begin to use your words to empower you because in this fifth season, we're talking about expansion, expanding what we've been purposed to do, become, and to the process that it will take for us to move forward. So many times we are stuck in spaces that society says you fit in this box. The only box that you need to fit in, that you're required to fit in, is a casket or a crematory urn. Other boxes, they're not meant for people. They're not meant for you. So this year, we're going to be encouraging you to expand beyond what your level of comfort is. And in this first episode, that is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to salute you for the work that you've done, but encourage you to move past your stuck points. So let's get ready for this expansion and move on. What exactly is expansion? Expansion is moving beyond, stretching beyond what had become normal. The way for you to expand is going to be 3 to 4 parts. The first part is self-awareness. You have to become aware of who you are and all the things that you bring forth in your life. Most of us live based on the story that we were told about ourselves, which isn't our truth. It was the truth of the storyteller. Most of us were defined by, not most, all of us are defined by those early developmental years, defined by what our parents think about us, what our siblings, if we have any, think about us, our grandparents, our aunts, uncles, the neighborhood, life situations. So many of us have experienced levels of trauma that have followed us into our adult life, making it a little difficult for us to learn to even trust ourselves. So when you think about that first level of expansion being self-awareness, that means that you have to intentionally take the time to get to know who you are now. Most people know themselves based on their labels. You know what those labels are? Mom, dad, sister, brother, aunt, other, whomever. Your degrees, your career, all of those things are just labels that are kind of boxing you in from being your true self. When you begin to look at your labels in a manner of expansion, you recognize they're just building blocks to where you want to go. Your self-awareness is getting to know your personality, your love language, getting to know you through a lens that's not always broken, getting to know the value of your worth and your word. It's vitally important for you to learn in this state of a self-expectancy and self-awareness that you matter to you first. We become so consumed with people pleasing that we forget to please ourselves.
When you are operating and moving in spaces of expansion, you're honoring who you are in all things. You're honoring your process. You're honoring your purpose. But how do I get to purpose? How do I expand beyond what others have told me that I am about me? The second part is going to be affirmations, affirming who you are. I hear so many people saying, I'm tired of affirmations. I'm tired of everybody thinking that journaling and affirmation are the only way to heal. Well, listen, the story that you were told affirmed who you were as a young person. It was words that bound you to the process of mistrust, that bound you to situations of negative experiences, that bound you in the places of not feeling worthy or not feeling loved. When you can literally apply the words to your life and affirm who you are without anybody else's permissions, acceptance, or even their acknowledgement, you will begin to replace the need for other people to affirm you with the power of you affirming yourself. You've got to decide for you how vital that is, the importance of affirming yourself. You have affirmed yourself in the negative. Well, what do I mean? You know, for years, people would say FOML, fuck my life, that kind of thing, or FML, I guess that's what it is, and then expect really good things to start happening. Well, you were affirming that your life was nothing. When you speak things like, I'm sad, I'm disappointed, I'm angry, I'm this and I'm that, and all of these negative things that come into place as if it's ownership, you are affirming those actions. Are there times of sadness? Absolutely. So how do you say that without affirming? In this moment, I'll say it the way I say it to myself. In this moment, during this grief cycle, I felt a lot of sadness. Am I sad? Nah, I felt sadness. I felt what my emotions were at the time, but I didn't get dressed in sadness. I didn't put it on. So many people are looking at affirming like they're lying to themselves. Well, when you look at it from, am I lying to myself? What about the people that were telling you all this other stuff that you accepted as affirmations? Are they lying to you? Were they building you up for where they wanted you to be? So don't look at affirmations of I'm affirming of myself or I'm gonna shake it, say it until I make it and all that kind of stuff. You kind of are, but you're really digging up the root of all of the negative stuff that you've been telling yourself and that others have told you. So you have to actually take over the energy of affirming yourself. You have to decide for yourself the importance of being able to acknowledge you in your truth space. So you got self-awareness, you got self-affirmation. The next level is self-worth. What is your measure of worth for your life? How are you measuring your worth? Don't measure your worth by tangible things. Don't measure your worth by a career and things of that nature. Measure your worth by your heart content. Measure your worth based on your belief system, especially the belief system in yourself. Measure your worth in the value that you see in you. When you do that, you own you. When you measure your worth, and I am notorious for saying it, and I thank Miss Jones for creating this song that says take up spaces. I'm notorious for saying I don't care what room I walk in. I can be brand new to the situation and I am going to own that room. I'm worthy to be in that room. I honor myself in that space, my gifts and my value. It doesn't matter what room you in. You got something to contribute to. What's your worth? How are you measuring that? How are you monitoring that? How are you honoring that. And the last part of the tier is getting to know you through your purpose, expanding the knowledge of you, being able to go within yourself and recognizing that everything that I need in order to be my absolute best self, I came to the planet with. I look out and I see so many life coaches. I see so many content creators, just living life and making plenty of money and changing lives and things of that nature. And then you have people who are saying, well, what are they doing different? And they're criticizing and they're judging and all those kind of things. And the truth is that judgment is coming from a place because they haven't tapped into, well, what's your purpose? How can your purpose and your gifts elevate your financial situation? How can your purpose and your gift honor what you've been processed, a purpose, or placed here for? What are you doing to really honor the fact that you are able to expand outside of what anybody else told you? I often go back to the story of being in high school. I attended Fraser High School in Memphis, Tennessee. They've changed the name recently after they demolished it, changed it to an alternative school, and now the Bay. And it just reminded me that when I was at that school, there was an African American guidance counselor who I would have hoped would encourage young Black girls like me to expand outside of their horizons. And this woman only saw me as an athlete. She only saw me as a Black female. She never had anything to do with educating me, teaching me, understanding how I learned or any of the things of that nature. But she was sadly responsible for encouraging my future. And her words to encourage my future was, you might as well just apply for uh, a job in a warehouse. You're not college material. If I would have taken the words of that woman who is now deceased, I would have never gone on to college after high school. I would have never gone back to college to finish my degree after I became a mother. I would have never gone on to complete my master's degree. I would have never gone on to go to school for 3.5 years for my doctoral degree to finish because of some racists. But finishing with almost my dissertation or what is it, ABD, everything but anything but dissertation. Everything else is done with 3.9 GPA on the doctoral program. But that's neither here nor there. What is here is I allowed her words to be a catapult of I can. There are going to be people in your life who will tell you what you can't do. They'll judge you by your past, by your actions. Use that as motivation to I can. Instead of being angry at them, they don't care that you're angry at them. They don't care that they left some kind of emotional scar behind. What you should care about is, how can I use this as a motivation? When I think about young kids in school right now, not always getting motivated at home, not always getting motivated in school, and they come to therapy, and I remind them, it's more to you than what people see right now. There's more to you. There's more to you than what everybody is saying right now. It really boils down to, what are you saying about yourself? How are you honoring you? What words are you picking up and putting down for you? This is why affirming yourself is important. But more importantly, is understanding, what is my purpose? How can I operate in my space of purpose? How can I honor purpose in my life? I often sit and tell people, the first thing that, in my opinion, and this is just my humble opinion, the first thing that you need to do in order to tap into what your purpose is getting quiet. Learning to still your thoughts in your mind by canceling out all of these negative thoughts and feelings and expectations. The words, the repeating and ruminating words in your head that don't represent you. Learning how to cancel that out so that you can be able to connect with your breath. You can create with your creator. You can create with God so that you can identify and ask, why am I here? This gives you permission to expand where you are. It gives you permission to become self-aware. Who am I? What are my gifts? How can I honor the gifts in my life? How can I move in the spaces of those gifts? What do I need to do to elevate myself so that my gifts make room for me? How can my name get announced in rooms that I'm not in? That's all associated with your purpose. Now, am I sitting here telling you that it's going to be peachy king and everything is just going to be super nice and easy? Not at all. We still have to work. One of our works is giving ourselves permission to show grace to what we went through in our past, but releasing it so we can better our future. Let me say that again. Giving ourselves grace to know what we went through in our past so we can release it so that we can better the things for our future. When we stay stuck in our past and we ruminate over all the people that didn't support us, all the people who hadn't shown up for us, even now when people are out on social media and they get upset that family and friends aren't liking their posts or following them or sharing their posts, you can't get upset at that because they are not your make or break process. This expectation that family and friends always need to support you is just unreal. There are going to be strangers that support you more on social media than anywhere else, because the thing that I've learned and understood is some people have issues with you being successful, with your growth, with your expansion, and they always want to tap back into who you were. I remember years ago when someone called and said, "May I speak to Marcia Robinson?" And I said, "Oh, she's dead." And somebody near me could hear the call and was like, "She's dead." Yeah, that lady died. I'm Marcia Blane. The Marcia Robinson that I once was a pastor's wife that was boxed in and limited based on my natural gifts. I was already writing books. I wrote a book almost 30 years ago. I was already speaking at different places 30 years ago. And I married into a situation because the church was saying you had to be married and you had to be covered and all of those things that hold you back. And as I did that, my then husband was very jealous of the moves that I made and the opportunities that I had. And if I would have stayed in that space, I would have lost all of my purpose. I'm still anointed. I still call those things that are not as though they were. I still operate in the gifts that have been bestowed upon me. I still move in the purpose of changing lives. But if I would have stayed in that situation, I would have had to dress up in the idea of what a first lady looked like. I would have had to dress up and minimize who I was. And I just chose not to. I chose to operate and live in the purpose that was meant for me. Anytime a mate is jealous of their spouse, you're in the wrong connection. You're in the wrong union. And I'm not telling people to run out and get a divorce and all that kind of stuff. What I am saying is you need to check where you are within yourself first. In addition, if you're trying to keep relationships open, whether it's family or friends or whomever, and all they want to do is remind you of your past, child, it's time to let them relationships go. The only reason why people want to remind you constantly of your past is because they feel like they're better than you. And that is a mental manipulation tactic to try to keep you down so that you don't continue to soar. Baby, soar. Soar beyond the ceiling, soar beyond the restrictions, soar beyond your fear. Don't allow other people's thoughts about you to stop you from expanding where you need to be. And that's people, that's organizations, that's situations. Don't allow anything from stopping you from expanding to being your absolute great self. You deserve expansion. You deserve to be able to move based on what you've been purposed to do. You deserve to honor yourself in the process. Now, here are some rules and some boundaries that you may want to put in place as you begin to navigate what expansion looks like for you. First rule, love yourself. That includes love, trust, and appreciation. Rule one, love yourself without apology. Be your authentic person at all times, accepting you even when you feel like your flaws are coming forward. Your flaws are just a part of the woven fabric that are you, that you learn from, and that you build from. Number two, speak your truth. Nobody can tell your story like you can tell your story. I remember a time in my life, in my first marriage, that had a tragic incident in it. There were family members in my life that would make jokes about that tragedy. That tragedy almost cost someone their life and almost cost me a life in prison. It was nothing to joke about, but people in my family that felt like they needed to joke about it, saying things like, you better watch out for Marcia because she'll cut you, didn't realize, one, I was fighting for my life that day. See, they didn't see that I had been choked out and that I had bruising all around my neck. They didn't see that I was trying to protect my children. They didn't see that the only way out and through was through self-defense. But they found it funny to make a joke about it. And for a long time, I would just get angry and get silent. But that was giving them motivation and control over me. I took that control back and said, we will not joke about this, or I will end conversations. And that stopped all of that foolishness, because at that point in my life, as I was recovering and restructuring my life, I did not need the foolish reminders of how I had to protect my life. They weren't there. They got the backside of a story. There was no joke about it. Number three, it's okay to limit your responses in relationships. You literally can tell people that I am not going to engage in those conversations. One of the rules that I have with my mother is don't bring me to family gossip. If it's something that they wanted me to know, the people would come and tell me themselves. I'm not getting caught up in the gossip, the back and forth, because my grandmother used to always say, if a dog carries a bone, they'll take one with them. And I'm not calling my mother a dog or a gossiper, but my mother, everybody laid everything on her. What I was not going to allow myself to be and become was responsible for other people's situations. Nah, they had to do that for themselves. So that was a cardinal rule between us. So I stopped knowing about family business because I stopped being a trash can. The next rule is saying no is an absolute. You have the right to say no to whomever, whatever, whenever, and however you chose and choose. Still working on the book, no, no, and hell no. But those are my three levels of no, because I'm going to give you that soft no. I'm going to give you that moderate no. And I'm going to give you that stern hell no when you continue to ask me and it's already outside of my boundaries. Have no problems with saying no, because here's the thing that I've registered with myself. The only person I owe to be authentic and true to first is myself. So being able to understand and respect the power of no, it's a thing for me. It moves me, it keeps me grounded, and it keeps me at peace. It also keeps people away from me that don't need to be near me. The last thing that I would say as a boundary for me is giving yourself permission to choose you first, making you a priority. Now, that's a little bit different from loving yourself, because you can love yourself. You can do things to make yourself feel warm and gushy. But a lot of times people fail to make themselves a priority because they don't want to be seen as selfish. They don't want to move into places of selflessness. So they will sacrifice all of who they are, even when they know it's not right for them. Give yourself permission to make you the priority, yes, over your spouse, over your children, over your career, over everything else in your life except for you and your creator. Everything else comes beneath you because what we know and understand is this. If you sacrifice and give all of you to everybody else and nobody's sacrificing and giving all of them for you, you're going to crash and burn. You're going to die a young death and you're going to be miserable, angry, filled with anxiousness and anxiety and depression. Honor yourself by expanding who you are to you first. Everybody else will reap the benefits of who you are because you'll be happier. You'll be at peace. You'll love yourself beyond measure. So in this season of expansion, we're going to continue to talk about mental wellness. We're going to continue to talk about how you need to pivot and grow, especially after trauma. We're going to talk about things like bringing someone in, talking about finances and cryptocurrency, talking about wills and being able to move, talking about healing your mother and your father wounds and all of those many things. So make sure that you are staying tuned to marciablane.com, subscribing so you get the weekly newsletter. Make sure you run out and get the books. Just buy the books. Download the different workbooks that's out and available, making yourself knowledgeable, filled with wisdom. Following Authentically Peculiar with Marcia, like, share, and comment on every podcast. I'm telling you, when you do that, it literally gives additional motivation. I'm going to do the podcast, but I sure would love to hear some of your feedback and some topics that you're concerned about. Here's the real deal. I'm here to support you on your journey because that is what I'm purposed to do. The last announcement that I would make, an encouragement that I would make, especially expanding into season 5, if you aren't already connected with a therapist, please connect with a therapist. It's vital. It's important for you to be able to have a safe space to talk about the things that are deciding factors for you. Honor yourself in those spaces and do the work. Give yourself permission to heal. And when all things are settled and the dust is calming down, I want you to remember, always live authentically peculiar. I'll see you on the next episodes. Take good care, and thanks for joining me today. Thank you for sharing time and space with us today on Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. Don't forget to like, comment, and share the podcast with everyone that you know. In addition, go out and support each of the guests and their own social platforms. Buy their products. Leave them a comment. We'll see you on the next episode of Authentically Peculiar with Marcia.